Right, it's Monday, February 16th, 7 p.m. This is the monthly town board meeting of the town of Dayton. This meeting and all other meetings of the town of Dayton are open to the public. The press has been notified and the agenda has been posted, so the citizenry may be aware of the time and the place of the agenda of the meeting. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I do have a change in the agenda under 10A, motion to approve Duco conditional use permit on Circle Drive. That project does not need a conditional use permit. It's a permitted use in that zoning district, so that motion is withdrawn.
Mr. Chair, just point of order, you skipped over number 4.
Number 4.
And number 2.
Roll call. Clerk, do you have all members present?
Yes.
All members present.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
Under number 5.
Okay. Just thought it'd help you out.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as written with the change of 10A.
And I'll second that.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Last month's January 20th minute meetings.
I'll make a motion to approve them as written.
Do we get a special town board meeting? Minutes for that?
No.
We have to approve those in next one.
Make a motion to approve the town board meeting minutes for January 20th.
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Oral reports of meetings town board members have attended.
I was at a Park and Rec meeting last week, talking about refinishing the floor in the old gym, and they're putting that out for bids. Hopefully that'll be project completed this summer. They talked about the Sledding Hill grand opening, and that was a big success. They were very happy with that. The Parks Department and the Officer Rodens, he's the liaison officer for the school district, have worked together, and they're bringing in a heroin awareness program. Gentlemen or 2 people into the middle school and to the high school, and then an open to the public. And I don't have the dates. It's early March.
I believe it's the 2nd.
Okay. It's early March. Just so everybody's aware on that. They talked a little bit about the Oz Park project, which those that aren't aware, they're trying to do an educational pavilion, educational center at the Oz Park, which is held by the CAP Services Center. They're still in a fundraising period. This is not going to cost taxpayer money to build this, so they're still working on fundraising on that. That was that meeting. I have been in contact with Jane Hosh. She's worked hard at putting together a informational class, if you will, and we've set a date for March 19th here at the Town Hall, and it's going to roughly about an hour, 20-minute segments for 3 different informational periods. One is going to be on the new recycling laws. One is going to be on park development, town park development, and the future of where we can to see our parks going. And the third one is on the geology of the town and the sands and the ground makeup. And that, again, is going to be March 19th at 7 p.m. And I would highly encourage many citizens as possible, the town board, the planning commission. I think this will hit a couple different very important topics. So, thank you, Jane. Do you have anything to say on that?
No, not unless people want to know who's presenting. Deb Problem on recycling, Trish Now from Northeast Wisconsin, visual planning, and Terry Gerlach on the geology.
We kind of, I was talking to Jane and talking about keeping it to a 20-minute segment so that we're, I mean, any one of these could probably be an hour or more, but to give it nice, quick, concise, and then questions and answers, we're able to keep the three presenters afterwards so that if you have a specific question, you can go right to that person and get your answer from them. So, thank you. And that's all I have.
And I attended an organizational meeting for the new Stratton Lake District. Elected officers and did a few organizational types of things in preparation for their next annual meeting, which I believe will be the Labor Day weekend. They also have a meeting that they will hold on Memorial Day weekend. Treasurer's report.
Well, I think we should ask Jim about this.
I was having a little, nothing, I was slow tonight, and I was asking questions beforehand.
Very good. Yeah. I hope it's not too confusing, but I like to put in to show that in February now, we're paying off the February settlement checks, so if you look at your check detail this month, all those checks are included in there. So after finishing up collection at the end of January, I'm transferring $1,771,371.57 out of the tax account to pay for the February settlement, as we call it. Last month, if you remember on my worksheet, I had the January settlement amounts. So if you look at the bank reconciliation at the top of the page, that's what the $3 million, part of that was those January settlements. So bottom line is, after the February settlement checks, also we received the payment in lieu of tax distribution this past week, which most of that also gets dispersed out to the municipalities. So there's been a lot of money changing hands through our system. And right now, in the general account, after all is said and done, there's $61,357.69. And then in the tax account, after the settlement payments have been made and all my deposits that I collected through February, that's at $710,734.32. As far as the CD rate, that renewal up for this month, I put those rates currently at First National Bank to the right of the CD portion. I checked on other banks because normally you ask me if we're doing that, and First National is still the highest. Premier Bank, a 12-month, $100,000 CD or over is 0.63. First State Bank, $75,000 CD over for 9 to 18 months is 0.50. So I still think our best in the other two were lower than that, Community First and Farmer State. So I still think we're best to stick with First National Bank personally.
In the past, I've been told that First National Bank will let us withdraw that CD early without penalty. I'm thinking of the bridge construction projects coming up later in the year.
I haven't ever had the need to discuss that with Jim, but
Okay.
if that was something in the past, I'm not privy to that.
projects, we have to pay the entire amount and then get the reimbursement, so.
Okay.
I'll certainly ask for this current one in February then.
Right, and it would also apply to the one in May, for information purposes.
Okay. I will check with them.
Okay, so I would make a motion that we renew the CD at First National Bank if they'll let us withdraw them without penalty in the fall. If not, then to transfer the funds into the tax account.
I'll go ahead and second that.
Further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
I'll make a motion that we approve tonight's bills totaling the $1,841,101.90. If my calculations are right, that leaves us about $70,000, shy of $70,000 that we need to transfer over or have in our general checking to pay the remainder part of the bills. So I'd make a motion to transfer $50,000 from the tax account to the general checking also.
That sound right, Brendan? All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
See, it took me a while, Brenda, but I got it.
That's okay.
Okay, next item.
Can I ask a question?
Did you ask for questions on the check, please?
No, I didn't. Do you have a question?
I'm confused as to why it says planning commission expenses and none of that is fire protection, and other than ambulance.
I believe that in the standard numbering of accounts that all those go into that category of expenses. Building inspections, fire, ambulance, and planning commission expenses all go into the 5,200.
Yeah, if you look at the next page, on page 3, it breaks down the planning commission out of that.
A lot, is that's where it goes?
Yes, that's where it goes. That's where it's budgeted.
Just a little confusing,
Yeah.
that's all.
Yep.
Thank you.
One more question. What were the legal expenses this month for? $2,000 almost?
Which ones?
51300.
Freebird Infinity are the attorneys that have been representing the town. Same as they have for a number of years. The legal expenses are with reference to the DNR litigation. Next item, Chairman's report. I have some news to share. That's not really focused too well. Can everybody read that? I did an analysis of the traffic accidents in the town of Dayton over the last 10 years. 2 years ago, in the fall of 2012, we started a program that cleared brush and vegetation from stop signs in the fall of 2012. We started with the intersections that went onto State Highway 22 and County Highway K, and have continued that over the last couple of years. And I believe that the statistics that we have show that that has been successful. We have almost a 75% reduction in severe accidents, the accidents where injuries or fatalities were reported compared to the previous 8-year average. So that's the number on the bottom left there. 23.5% is the ratio of 7 traffic accidents over the 2-year period compared to the previous 8-year average, which totaled 119%. In comparison, the numbers for all of Wapaka County for the same time period, the number of severe accidents were 15.6% compared to in the town of Dayton 6.1%. Now, in the previous 2-year periods, spanning from 2005 to 2012, the town of Dayton averaged the number of severe accidents percentage-wise about 50% higher than the rest of Wapaka County. In the last 2-year period, the 2013 and 2014 period, it's what is that? It's 60% less than Wapaka County, as opposed to previously it was 50% greater than Wapaka County.
Mr. Chairman, do you have any data that would specifically attribute the change in accidents to the intersections that have been worked on?
Well,
I mean,
all of the intersections have been reviewed over the last few years.
But my point is, are all these accidents intersection accidents, or is this just gross data of all accidents? Runs in the ditch, hit a tree, all the rest of that? On the menu there on the top left, it says all reported accidents. So that is all reported accidents in the town of Dayton. Severe accidents or injury or fatalities are all accidents of that category in the town of Dayton. The same in Wapaka County. There's no separation there between which ones are intersections or whatever. I do have a map. But I guess my point is that we might assume that that's because of better visibility on the intersections and so forth, but we don't have any data to support that.
And I'll let you interpret the data any way that you want to interpret the data, but the town has tried to make roads safer, and I think that that this shows that there's some correlation to when we started the work and the accident data over the last couple of years. We know that we made a change in the town of Dayton. The statistics for the rest of Wapaka County don't show as dramatic a change. So where in the previous 8-year periods, the town of Dayton had more severe accidents, more injury-causing accidents than the rest of Wapaka County. Now we're having dramatically less, and I believe that there's a statistical correlation between the two.
Chris, just that 119 in the third column, as for town of Dayton, severe injury or fatal
questions on that? On,
Excuse me, if you wanted to get, excuse me, if you wanted to get a total for Wapaka County, you would add the data for Dayton that shows up on here with what shows up on the column that says Wapaka County accepted, is that correct?
correct.
Okay.
And the notation there says that this is preliminary data because that's what the state website says, but I did look at, as an example, accidents in the town of Dayton, and there were 7 reported accidents in the town of Dayton for December. The last one was December 30th. All of our accidents are reported by Wapaka County. There's other municipalities, cities or villages with police forces that could have some accidents that were not reported at the data cutoff, but I believe that the totals are complete for the town of Dayton. Okay, bridges. Tentatively, the bridge engineer, or the bridge contractor, told me that he's going to start work on the first bridge on May 15th. It'll take about 6 weeks to complete, which would take it up to around the 4th of July. Then they would start on the second bridge, and then that one would be complete around August 15th. So the bridge contractor, as it stands right now, is planning on doing one bridge at a time. The change could come in with the West Road project. That bridge contractor is going to bid on the bridge portion of that contract also. The engineer tells me that the bid letting will be next week with a bid opening on March 10th. And they expect to have a recommendation to the town board on March 17th. Is there any public input for this evening?
I have a question, if I could, please.
Sure.
Thank you. On Monday, November 24th, according to the minutes of town board meeting, the board considered resolution 14-11-01 to authorize additional action regarding the local dam. The minutes suggest that there was a lengthy discussion that took place as a result of that, and ultimately that resolution to authorize additional actions was voted down, probably out of respect to the residents of the town of Dayton who expressed their opinions at the meeting that took place at the high school. That was again November 24th. Yet on January 21st, after the town board had voted to not authorize additional action by defeating that resolution, the law firm that has been retained by the township filed a motion to reopen the DNR hearing. And I'm curious as to under what authority the town would do that, since the board had voted not to authorize further actions with regard to the dam.
The town board had a discussion with the town's attorney in closed session and authorized proceeding with the action.
After the town board voted to not authorize additional action.
There was new information that came to the town board, and we authorized the attorney to go ahead and file that motion.
Is that reflected in any of the town board minutes?
That was part of the closed session that has.
It'd be in closed session.
has not been approved, but that action was all done in closed session. Is there any other public input? Yes, sir.
What caused you to do it in a closed session instead of an open one?
We were consulting with the attorney about legal strategies, and we consult with attorneys in closed session.
Chris, can I elaborate a little bit on this one? I mean,
With
Limitation.
yeah, just, yes.
the information that was brought to us from our engineer firms that we had worked with for the bridges and the calculations on the water flow for upstream of the dam. We just wanted to assure that the citizens below that dam or spillway, whatever we want to call it now, is safe. And that's where we were at. And so we spoke with the attorney, and he felt it was a legitimate thing to bring forward. It wasn't anything trying to block this. I mean, it was, hey, we just want to make sure everybody's got the same numbers. So that's where it was.
Mr. Dixon?
Wasn't that information available to you before the attorney?
No.
Wasn't available to me, no.
Glenn, same with you, wasn't available to you?
It was not brought to us before the DNR hearings.
The information was contained in the final engineering documentation for the two bridges that were left. That information was received in late December. Mr. Dixon?
You must be clairvoyant, because I knew of this information. And I'm surprised that the board wasn't aware of this before the attorney.
Is there anything else under public input? If not? Yes, sir.
Just one quick question. This information that you're discussing, you submitted this to the DNR,
Yes.
and did they give you a response?
Well, it's in the hands of the law judge right now.
Did they give any
And
response?
the motion was to supplement the hearing information so that we would have this information in front of the law judge and the DNR before they made their decision.
And did the DNR respond in any way to what you provided?
The DNR
To you or to the judge?
The DNR made a motion that the judge not reopen the case for additional evidence, and Wapaka County's motion was similar.
Thanks.
Okay. Seeing no further public input, we'll move on. Item 10B, motion to approve Barrett Conditional Use Permit on Court Road. This is to replace a existing mobile home in an existing mobile home court that is permitted. It requires a conditional use permit because the Camp Floodhorn regulation is that mobile homes cannot exceed 15 feet 6 inches in the mobile home court. The county ordinance requires a minimum of 22 feet without a conditional use permit, So that's what Mr. Barrett proposed in his request. The vote of the planning committee on this request was 6-0.
In favor.
In favor, yes.
I'll make a motion to approve the conditional use permit.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the Barrett Conditional Use Permit on Cork Road. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Excuse me, motion carries. Next item, motion 1502 M01 to request revision in proposed Chapter 43 Non-Metallic Mining Ordinance to propose additional days for town input. This will take a little bit of explanation. I've had a number of discussions with Ryan Brown, and we looked at the ordinance. The committee vote was to request a change from the 45 days allowed currently in the county statutes for a conditional use decision by the town to allow 30 additional days or up to 75 days. When I talked to Ryan to ask him about that specific question, he assumed that Act 74, which was passed a couple of years ago, that specified that 60 days was the longest that a political subdivision could use to consider it, was the maximum that could be allowed, and that 75 days would exceed the maximum allowed by statutes. The letter that he sent me is that he agrees that the timeline provision in our ordinance requires some revision to more accurately reflect what is practical. An absolute deadline for town input of 45 days may make sense for the majority of conditional use applications, but there are certainly some that will require more. In particular, the larger scale projects that could be requested. Something like a large non-metallic mining or industrial sand mine operation, even a large shopping center development or a large manufacturing development could certainly require more than 45 days for the town board to gather the input, perhaps hold a couple of public information hearings, and make a reasonable decision. Ryan agrees that the deadline is well, says, I do not like the idea of absolute deadlines in these events because the best amount of time is unknown in many cases. The applicant deserves a reasonable amount of time to be used for a town recommendation without the use of a stall tactic by the town, and the town citizens also deserve not to be rushed. He goes on to say that they're going to have a staff meeting in the zoning department to discuss drafting language for that revision. He is recommending something to be along the lines of this deadline may be extended for a mutually agreed upon time frame. I'm uncomfortable with the way the county ordinance is now written, because right now it does say 45 days is what a town gets, and when we started talking about potential non-metallic mine, I don't think that 45 days is adequate. So zoning office is apparently open to doing something, and I guess I don't know whether 60 days or 75 days is any better than 45 days. The industrial sand mine
in the town of Union in Wapaka County, I believe is still open after 2 years after the initial application went in. And if the town were required to give a final recommendation in 45 days or 75 days, I think that would have been inadequate in that case. So I'd like some input from the board as to what you think would be reasonable, or do you think language similar to what he's proposing, that the deadline may be extended for a mutually agreed upon time frame is adequate to,
Of not less than 60 days.
of not less than 60 days?
Not less than 60 days and agreed upon mutually. I mean, most of these companies coming in, it's not that they're, bam, in 3 months we want to open this up. They want to come in and they want to open it up. I would say most of them want to do it in a friendly manner, making sure that the community is somewhat supportive. So if they're going to come in here, they're going to be willing to work time frame a little bit better. But if we just go what's mutually agreed upon, the town board could agree upon 20 days, and that doesn't give the citizens much time to get in here. So if we say a 60-day or agreed upon time frame, not less than 60 days, I think it says that, hey, we want to hear what you're doing, we want to see it, we want to talk about it.
Well, I did draft something. And what I had drafted was request a revision to Chapter 34 of the Wapaka County Zoning Ordinance and proposed Chapter 43 of the Non-Metallic Mining Ordinance to allow 75 days to review and recommend, and a recommendation to allow time, I don't know if I like the wording on that, to consider review and a recommendation, comma, to allow time for public input at the town level. 45-day allowance may not allow time for public input to the town board or allow scheduling of public information meetings at the town level. I would propose changing that to 60 days.
Changing the 75 to 60.
75 to 60, and then add that the deadline may be extended for a mutually agreed upon time frame. And I think in most cases, the larger projects will understand that it will take longer. And if the town board has insufficient time to make a reasonable decision, then the town board would generally deny the request, which is not what the applicant is going to want either. So I think that, I think that would work for both the applicants and to protect the residents of the town. So the change proposed there is to allow 60 days and to add the deadline may be extended for a mutually agreed upon time frame. That's my motion. Further discussion?
Nope.
The second half of the motion was to request a change to clarify that complete applications will be forwarded to the
to the town clerk by the Wapaka County Zoning Department for town review. And this has come up on a number of other occasions for smaller requests, including the two that we had today. In order to expedite things, we have allowed people to bring in a conditional use permit rather than getting one from the zoning department. And we're not always sure that the applicant is bringing the same application to the town board that they're presenting to the zoning department. So I requested that clarification, and Mr. Brown also addressed that and said that that the zoning department would be changing the application checklist and that process.
That just for the non-metallic mining ordinance or for all?
For all. For all. Okay.
We need a motion on that? Or?
Well, that was part of the motion. Was that part of your second?
Yeah.
Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The next item is, we had another motion on the non-metallic mining ordinance that was brought to the planning committee, requesting an extension of the non-metallic mining ordinance moratorium and some additional conditions. For purposes of discussion, I would like to bring that forward to discuss it. The motion was to ask the Wapaka County to extend the non-metallic mining ordinance moratorium.
I'll second that for discussion purposes.
The discussion at the planning committee was that additional moratoriums were allowed by statutes, and I have done some research on moratoriums and also on the moratorium that was passed by Wapaka County. The authority that Wapaka County used was the General Zoning Authority under Wisconsin Statutes 59 and 67. There is additional moratorium language that applies only to towns, cities, and villages in the statutes. The moratorium listed for reasons of health or welfare for a town, city, or village to pass a moratorium states that a 12-month moratorium can be passed and a single 6-month extension can extend the deadline. There is not similar explicit authority for the counties or explicit deadlines for the counties. The the Wisconsin Counties Association recommends that moratorium by counties not exceed 6 months and not exceed one shorter extension to a 6-month moratorium. Wapaka County chose to originally do a 12-month and an extension of 6 months, but there is nothing in the statutes that authorize
authorizes a second extension or a moratorium of longer than 18 months. The moratorium was passed and approved in form by the Wapaka County's attorney. And since I can't find any authority to extend the moratorium behind that, I don't believe that it's proper for us to give legal advice to Wapaka County. So I would like to withdraw that motion.
What was the date of moratorium? When does that expire for?
It expires something like March 19th. And they have a public hearing scheduled, I think, for March 5th. They have it on the agenda for zoning committee action after that. And then I think the county board next meeting would be March 17th. So it would be on the agenda for final action on March 17th prior to the expiration of the moratorium. If the county tried to extend the moratorium or not act on a non-metallic mining ordinance, that would mean that essentially that anybody could come in with an application and have it approved prior to a change in law.
And we could, as a town, we could, if we find a health hazard or a reason to enact a moratorium ourselves, we could do that whether it's next month, the month after. Am I correct?
Well, the town's authority would not be zoning authority. Even if Wapaka County did not pass anything, the town of Dayton's authority would be a regulatory authority under police powers, and that would be a business operation license that the town would have to develop and pass. But the town does have limited moratorium authority under statutes.
You made a motion to withdraw.
I made a motion to withdraw.
I'll second that.
Further discussion? All in favor of withdrawing motions under 10D to request extending a non-metallic mining moratorium extension, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, that carries. Under new business, item 11, A. I guess this actually should have been old business because it was on the agenda last month, but the service contract for Gold Cross Ambulance.
This is very similar to the same contract that we had with the Wapaka County ambulance.
Well, it was similar to what we had with Wapaka Ambulance Service. We had an interim agreement last year as they were taking over. The cost per capita is $12.50 per person under this agreement. The previous year in 2014, it was $13 per person. So there's a small reduction of 4% in the cost to the town of Dayton. The total quarterly amounts annual amount is $34,462.50, which was the numbers that we included in our budget for 2015.
I'll make a motion that we go ahead and sign this contract, but I believe you're gonna have Gold Cross sign a new contract because Mr. Hill is no longer the executive director of Gold Cross.
And I will second it. Questions? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. The next contract is for AECOM. And that's for the engineering services at the landfill, covering the 2015 year. The town of Dayton pays 28% of the total share. Their estimate for 2015 is $74,000. The actual costs for 2014 was $62,350. I believe that we used a total cost for the three townships estimated at $72,000, so the town of Dayton share that we put in our budget was $20,000. Under this contract, it would, the town of Dayton share would be $20,720. That includes some contingencies if additional tests are mandated by the DNR.
Make a motion to approve the contract with AECOM.
Further discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. The next is in response to a request for proposal for surveying Fern Avenue. I received a proposal from Riverside Land Surveying. And I would make a motion that we approve that for a cost not to exceed $7,000.
And this is for them to resurvey where the current road is? Is that?
They would plat the road, identify the utilities, and also plat the road that was never developed down in the swamp there, so that it could be properly abandoned.
Did we put this out for, ask for bids from anybody, or did you just send it out to a couple?
I contacted 10 different surveyors. First, I contacted 3 surveyors last fall, and I received 2 not able to complete, and 1 no response. I contacted another 6 surveyors that were recommended by the Wapaka County registered surveyor, and I received 2 responses. The second one was approximately 50% higher than this one. But Riverside Land Surveying was one of the recommended ones by Mr. Godowski, and also by Wapaka County's surveyor, Lisa Coombs. Wapaka County Highway Department surveyor, I should
If we move forward and have this survey, what does this give, what does this do with any legal issues for the town? Are we gonna then be required to survey all roads that are not platted?
Well, interestingly, I also have an update from Lisa Coombs on roads that we did not have a record for. In addition to Fern Avenue, it appears that there's 3 additional roads that we don't have a proper record of. There's Akron Road, the southwestern leg that goes between Gooseneck and Bass Lake, on the south side of Spencer Lake. The portion from the Lintown line going to the west, between Gooseneck and Bass, has some surveys recorded, but there is no town board action or no, the town board was not involved in any of the surveys. And some of the surveys record only a 33-foot right of way. So that is a unrecorded road is in the town records. So that would be one that would probably be the one that the town would have to address. The other roadway would be Johannet Lane. The part next to the lake was platted originally as a dead end. At some point in time, there was an extension to Home Lane Road that wasn't platted, or there's no record of in the town records. That one only crosses one property, and it's not lakefront property, so I don't believe that there would only be one property owner to deal with on that particular segment. The fourth one, I can't remember. There is one other road that
Is it Lisa's opinion that the town should do this?
Well,
if so, what's the town's association opinion on this?
well, the one on Fern Avenue, we're faced with having to make a decision on. There's some owners of property on Fern Avenue that have approached Wapaka County with selling their property and to do what they need to do. They need to have a survey approved by Wapaka County, and Wapaka County can't complete that until the town of Dayton establishes the town road right-of-ways. So the alternative is the town of Dayton could kick the ball down the road and turn it over to Wapaka County. If the town does not act, the county has the authority to act. But the costs of having the survey, I'm fairly certain that Wapaka County wouldn't voluntarily pick those up.
Would Wapaka County survey it and charge for the date?
Yes, that would be my assumption.
Why?
Well, that's easy.
I guess I'm questioning, the road's been there for a long
100
time.
years.
And people have bought and sold there in that time. Why do we have to act right now on this? And if doing so, then, I mean, I guess we should act on the other 3 roads immediately.
Well,
You know.
the other 3 roads, you know, could be an issue in the future. This, you know, of the 4 roads that we looked at, this is the longest road and it involves the most properties, so it's more complicated than the others. In addition, this road it has a public access to the waters that has to be straightened out, and there is a platted road that is outside of the boundaries of the road right away. The platted road goes through the swamp to the west of Fern Avenue, and that has to be abandoned because right now the town road and the town road right away don't match.
And you're saying if we defer this to the county, they're gonna bill us back for it? I mean,
Well, you know, I don't know what kind of precedence there is for that. I don't know if this has ever happened in Wapaka County before, where potentially a request would be made to have the county determine what the right-of-way is. I don't see that there is an advantage to having Wapaka County determine what's going on in the town of Dayton. I think that that's a town board responsibility.
Would we be better off doing all 3 right now versus doing the other 2 later on? This way the same company gives a better bid on surveying them.
Well, you know, the reason to do Fern Avenue is there's a pending request from the property owners on that stretch of road. We don't have a request from property owners on the other stretches of road. And in those cases, there's not a platted road that is over here and a town road that's over there. So the circumstances are not the same. Mr. Dixon?
Question, how many properties are going to be involved in this replat? Do you foresee all of them, or 50% of them, or what?
Well, all the properties along Fern Avenue will have to be identified, and the right-of-way in front of each of those properties will have to be identified. And there's roughly 25 properties from Rural Road to the end of Fern Avenue.
So some of those properties will have buildings on them that will have to be, you'll have to confront, is that correct?
There's nothing that would be involved with existing buildings, properties, or anything else. The request that came to Wapaka County was could a large lot be divided or reconfigured to create 2 lots. And that requires things like impervious surface calculations and square footage calculations and road frontage and lake frontage calculations. And
So you're saying no structures will be involved?
no, well, there are structures on the adjoining properties, but no structures would be involved in the town would only plat and survey the road and the road right of way. They would not survey properties or homes or calculate the impervious surface calculations of adjoining lots. But in order for a homeowner on one of those properties
that are waterfront, to get a building permit, they have to supply impervious surface calculations, and they can't do that if they don't know where the road right-of-way is.
How has that happened in the past? How, I mean,
Well, in the case of Fern Avenue, there has not been a lot of property transfers in 100 years.
Oh, well, actually, there was a lot that was divided probably 10 years ago and that structure built.
Yeah,
So
but
they must have done, you must have figured it out somehow.
well, Packer County did not have specifically impervious surface calculations until maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
True, that's not true. It was 14 years ago at least.
Relatively recent. And what Packer County has codified those calculations a little more, where now in most cases they're requiring something be submitted on a survey by a surveyor rather than homeowners' calculations. How they did it in the past, I guess. I guess.
Ask Jeff to explain, he's the authority here.
There hasn't really been a lot of development on Fern Avenue that I can remember. One of the things they have going for them on Fern Avenue are the lots are very large. I don't remember the exact size, but they do go on the other side of Fern Avenue, and because they are one large parcel, the impervious surface in most cases were not an issue. So, if the town does do a right-of-way through there, that does divide the lots. So you'll have your lake lots and you'll have your non-lake lots. So that could potentially be an issue. And approximately 3 years ago is when we went from 25% impervious surface down to 15%. So when we go from 25 to 15, that's going to make a huge difference on these lots on whether or not it's going to be an issue. So many of these lots we will have to have surveyed before they do impact development. So.
But what, Chris, tell me if I'm wrong, what did start all of this request to survey and find out the road right of ways and get rid of the original plat of the road? Didn't Wabaka County request this?
You know, it started from a sale of a property. There were 4 lots, and there were siblings that were trying to determine what these lots were worth. And they wanted to split a lot. And the question came up, where's the road right of way? And that's how the town became involved.
And determining the road right-of-way is the town's responsibility.
Could we move forward with this particular Fern Avenue one and not do the other 3 at this point?
I'm not proposing, doing the others. The circumstances are not the same, and, we don't have a request from
Any of the other things?
from any other agency to define the right-of-way on, say, Akron Road or Joe Hickman Lane. So,
You just said that Lisa asked that that be done.
Well, could we do that later instead of?
Right, I agree that it probably could be done later,
We need to move forward with this Fern Avenue thing. It's not going to go away. I don't believe that it's going to disappear. I'll make a motion that we go forward with the survey of the Fern Avenue.
You made that motion.
Chris did? I'll second.
But there was no second.
I'll second.
okay. Further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
All right.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
carries. Next item, Planning Commission meeting is scheduled for March 10th. Regular town board meeting will be Tuesday, March 17th. Is there anything else?
Just a reminder about the March 19th informational class here.
Is there